This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And folks, we all know Class of 1984 celebrated its 35th anniversary last year. But you know what? Some folks are just worth having back. And the guy I have on the phone with me, this is his third trip on here. We're going to talk about a variety of things. Especially his music outings, which I've had the pleasure of being subjected to. Folks, here is Stefan Arngrim, a.k.a. Drugstore, back with us a third time around. How you doing, Stefan?
Hey, Greg. How are you?
Yeah. I'm doing fantastic. And you know, a few things changed since I talked or interviewed you last. You know, I finally got out of the province.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You went to Toronto.
I went to Toronto.
Spend some time with Lisa Langlois. Hey, you know, if you're going to get out, first time out of the province, Ontario with Lisa Langlois, that's pretty good.
You know what?
You can't beat that.
No, I can't. And, you know, it's amazing because, you know, you got all this situation with the Me Too movement and Harvey Weinstein, you know. It's funny how these people with all their money, they don't know how to treat women. Yet, you know, Lisa showed me my Toronto, and she and I became fast friends. And I'm looking forward to going back. She and I, you know, are still connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah.
And I had a big crush on her growing up, so that says something about me and says something about Harvey Weinstein.
Well, let's hope you don't get called as a witness.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, no, I had a blast in Toronto, and I it's funny because, you know, I before then, I'd never flown before.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, I'd never been in a plane. I was always nervous about that stuff, and on my second interview with Lisa, she said, "What's stopping you?"
Yeah.
And I was in here on a Saturday just hanging out with some of the folks doing the programming shows here. And one of the fellows said to me, he says, "Greg," and at the time, you know, I was between jobs. And he said, "You're not working." He said, "You don't have a wife and kids." He said, "Yeah." He said, "You're being asked by an actress you like to go to Toronto and assist her at Horeb Rama." He said, "Go." Yeah. And you know what? I made the decision right then and there. It's like, you know what? Screw this intimidation of planes. And I actually had no problem flying. I didn't bother me at all. I took gravel and but I don't think I even needed it. I was fine, you know?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I had a blast. Lisa showed me what the techniques of taking a subway and the shuttle buses.
There you go.
Yeah, all that stuff we don't have here in Fredericton.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a blast, and I was honored when she asked me to be her assistant at the convention, and
Kidding? That's terrific.
so I arranged her photos and helped her in every way I could help her out, and that was a wonderful experience. And of course, I imagine. Did you see the pictures of she and I at the Class of 1984 locations?
Sure did. Yeah. But that's a great service you provided, because, you know, when you do those things, you know, you're concentrating on just, you know, meeting people and talking to people and stuff like that, and to have somebody to take care of the little odds and ends and stuff like that, it's really, really helpful. I mean, you know, it may not seem like it, but it is. You did her a solid there. That was.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was a lot of fun. We went to the house where you folks did your nasty deed with poor Mary Lynn Ross.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I don't even remember where that was. Where was that house?
I think it was Palmerston Street or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. we found it, and there was a for sale sign on the lawn.
Yeah, and good luck. Good luck with that.
We did a selfie in front of the house there. I remember I called Mary Lynn Ross late last year. I said, I was in front of your house.
There's a picture you can be proud of there.
Yep. And we found the alleyways where Michael J. Fox was put in a position to wimp out.
Yeah.
They were closed off, though. There's gates across them.
I believe there were then, actually. I think we somehow, I was going to say got permission to take them down, but frankly, my experience on that shoot is that we got very little permission to do anything. We just did it. So there was like a fence down the mouth of that alley that we took down. Whether that was like okay to take down or we just took it down, I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, no, we drove by, but traffic was so bad we couldn't get out, so there was no pictures,
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did go to the school.
Oh, Central Tech.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lisa had a rental car, and we went to that. I paid for the gas for it, She took care of the car, but I paid for the gas, and because
Central Tech is actually not nearly as spooky looking, or at least I hope not, as we made it. I mean, our art department went crazy with the graffiti at Central Tech. I mean, it was,
Yeah. Oh, gee, we showed up there. And I wanted somebody to take my picture with Lisa in front of the school. And there was some students sitting on the steps, I guess, waiting for a bus. And I was trying to communicate to them what I wanted. And boy, they looked mean.
Maybe so.
Yeah, even Lisa noted, they didn't seem very friendly. Finally, there was somebody, an adult there, who worked at the school, come down and spoke to us, and we
played by Al Waxman. No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, this guy, I told him where I was from, and Lisa informed him that she had done a movie there, and he understood, and he took the picture. He had to get the students to move out of the way, and boy, they were not a friendly bunch. I'm like, jeepers, is this the new age of Stegman's gang or what?
Yeah. See, we may have given that place a reputation.
Maybe, but I would have loved to have gone inside. But
workers are all happy to be down there. I want to go to Central Tech. That's where Drugstore went.
That's where Drugstore went. That's where Drugstore went and did some bad stuff in the biology lab.
Yeah, and obviously we weren't doing too well in school because clearly all of us were over 18. So we'd clearly been in high school for far longer than anyone needs to be.
You don't think Drugstore was passing his tests?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when you look at most movies, generally they don't, because that's how you cast. It's always cheaper to cast over 18 to play under 18. So if you're over 18, or if you're 18 or over and you look young, you're going to work because they got a lot of high school student parts they got to fill up. And if you hire somebody under 18, that's a minor. Now you got a welfare worker and schooling and 3-4 hours of work and 3 hours of school and 1 hour lunch. That's expensive and time consuming. So they tend to cast above 18 to play under. So most movies you see, there are exceptions where they really used real teens, and it's quite obvious, like, that movie from some years ago, Kids, shot here in Manhattan. Those are all real kids. But yeah, I mean, Class of 1984 is a movie. I don't know, I mean, I was 26, so
You want me to tell you the way I look at it? If they act like the teenagers, like I'll say this about Grease as well. It's obvious everybody in Grease was over 18.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing. you can get involved in their characters. You can get involved in Danny and Sandy and the T-Birds and the Pink Ladies, and you can kind of buy into it and get lost in it. And I'm the same way with Class of 1984. You know, I can get past
they're
that.
Movies, they're entertainments. That's the whole point. And you know, I mean, I think anyone who really expects real life from a movie is, you know, maybe kidding themselves, because I mean they are. It's like a novel or a painting, or it's a work of art basically, or entertainment, which is basically the same thing. Because let's face it, if art isn't entertaining, what the hell's all the fuss about? And if entertainment isn't done somehow artfully, who cares? So you know, they're kind of synonymous.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, they're not. I mean, I think unless a film's major point is that it is, you know, as close to reality as you can possibly get in a film, then, you know, you're watching a dream. You know, I mean, to me, that's sort of Class of 1984. It's kind of this dream of, you know, or nightmare of this weird, you know, school and this strange, because it has got the beginning and the middle and an end. Most movies are like that. They have that dream quality. But, you know, that's always been my argument too, with like the concept of like reality TV and stuff, or even documentary films. Because the fact is that the moment you frame the lens on a camera, on anything, you've made a huge decision. You've just decided to tell everybody, this frame, this 16 by 9 or whatever the ratio is, this is the world. This is the only world that's important. The world that's out of frame or behind me, we don't care about that. Look at this. This is what's happening. Well, that's an editorial decision. That's not reality. That's somebody deciding that this is the part of the world you ought to look at. Now, we put people in front of the camera and have them do things, and that's a contrivance, even if they're doing real things. You know that yourself. You've seen people, you know, you put a camera on people, you know, everybody, you know, puffs up and they start working for the camera. It's a natural reaction, I think, for anybody. And so when the people say to me, you know, reality TV, or this is like very real and all that,
Yeah.
you know, it's, you know, I got a wry smile for that, all picked out just for that sentence, because you know, it just isn't. Anytime you're dealing with any artifice like film or recording or even painting or anything like that, you're replicating an event or a person, place, or thing, but you're not really, it isn't life, it isn't real. It's a replication of reality.
Oh, yeah.
Even the reality TV is a replication of reality. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's all an artifice.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's but you know, that's what's good about it. That's, you know, and every culture throughout history has had their little myths and tales and stories and entertainments and stuff like that. And here in the technological 21st century, we're doing the same thing, you know.
Well, I'm hoping this fall to get back to see Lisa again in Toronto, and you know, actually we were talking. Actually, she called me a couple days ago, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but she is. Here in spring is flood season, and we got some massive flooding right now in downtown Fredericton.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect me. I'm up on the hill. But I remember there's a thing on Facebook asking whether I was safe, and so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was up on high ground. I mean, there's been no deaths. This happens every year. It just happens to be the worst one, you know. But Lisa was one of the people that responded and was happy I was okay, and she gave me a call, and it was nice to hear from her, you know. And yeah, it's amazing, you know, because I saw this movie way back in the early to mid '80s, and it's really awesome to me to have this communication with her and you and Mary and Aaron and even Gord Lewis from Teenage Head. It's just pretty awesome.
Well, good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I've done you guys a good service, you know. I mean, my show wouldn't be anything without you guys, so.
Oh, that's very nice to say.
Yeah. But, yeah, I had blast in Toronto, and I did not want to come home.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
always the good part about, visiting and traveling and stuff like that is you always want to leave a place that you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave a place because you're tired of the fucking place.
Yeah.
So,
yep, I agree.
Anyway, you want to, like, oh, I want to go back there, Those are all my favorite places, are the places I would go back to,
Yeah, we had fun there, and a lot of people I met at Horeb Rama has come on my show as well. Like, I knew... Yeah, Leslie Donaldson's been on my show a couple times, and she's worked with Lisa on 2 movies, and so I met her there as well. And
terrific.
And a number of other people that... like George Romero's widow was there, and she's been on my show, and various people that... It was just a blast, It was, I had fun doing it. I had a blast. I was honored to help Lisa out, and I told her I would do it again any time she needed me. So,
yeah, terrific.
I got to see some Toronto culture, and I went to the best theater I've ever been to. I didn't want to come to the ones home here. Well, Mink Stoll was there as one of the guests.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yep. And they're doing a special screening of Pink Flamingos.
Oh, great.
And I said to Lisa, we should go to that. And she said, okay. And she had never seen Pink Flamingos.
Oh, yeah. No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting, because she took it well. She said it's not a film she'd watch again, but, and I hadn't seen it in a while, but she remarked how young Mink Stoll looked in the movie. Of course, the movie came out the year I was born, so...
yeah.
But the theater was so nice. It was like sitting in a palace.
Wow. What theater was this?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But it played a lot of retrospective movies, though.
Sure.
Yeah. But, well,
that's a fun film. I remember Divine. I knew Divine in L.A. for when he was out there for a while, and we played the Fiorucci's opening in Beverly Hills years and years ago, a band I had, and Divine was also playing, so that was kind of fun.
Well, so far, I haven't been able to get Mink on my show, even though I talked to her quite a bit at Horeb Rama. But I'll tell you what I did do. I reached out to, Cookie Mueller is no longer with us. And, of course, I do tribute interviews for people that's passed away.
Sure.
And I managed to find Cookie Mueller's son, Max. And... Cookie, of course, was the one that was sexually assaulted with the chicken in the movie.
Yeah.
And Max came on my show in tribute to her, and he said to me, he's technically in that film because he's the baby that is sold to the lesbian couple.
Oh, well, there he goes.
He chuckles about that today,
Yeah.
But... Yeah, I had him come on. We talked about Cookie because, not much is said about her, and I thought,
That's true.
Yeah, so I'll put Mink on the back burner for a bit, and I had him come on, talk about Cookie, but that was a fun trip, and we visited various restaurants, and I know Lisa kept asking me what do I eat, and. I was like, I don't know. You show me, and I picked up the bill because that's what a fella does. So
that's very nice of you. There's a lot of nice places in Toronto, a lot of nice restaurants in Toronto. Always have been.
Yep, and like I said, didn't want to come home. I just had the best time, and I loved the convention scene. There was one convention going on that same weekend. Columbus, Ohio had Horror Hound going on, and I don't have a passport yet, and with the way things are going on in the States, I don't know if I want to go.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Really?
No, it's just a big reality show. That's okay. It's all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, anyway, I know when
These are
Horror
very
Hound was going on,
seriously.
there was people that asked if I'd go to that, and but I took Lisa up on her offer because I was going to be assisting her, and I couldn't turn that down.
You're perfectly safe coming to America. You're a white man from Canada, so you believe me, you're way at the back of the list.
Every time I turn around, I keep hearing about shootings going on. I mean, that's
true. So you're not a high school student either, so you're right there. You're safe.
oh man, it's like every time I turn around, somebody's. I don't get it, And even this whole van incident in Toronto, it's like I wish people would just piss off.
Yeah, it would be awfully nice if people would just lay their hands off each other and stop hurting each other for a change. It's getting very boring, frankly. I'm getting numb from it all. It's kind of like just cut it out, really. I mean, what is so important?
Well, apparently this jack-off in Toronto.
Whenever you do find out about these people, their motivations are just so meager, and you just think, really, that's it?
Yeah, he couldn't get laid.
What the hell?
Guess what? I can't get laid either. You don't see me out running people over.
Exactly. It's just...
Look, you got choices. Get an escort or rent a porno, something, or do it yourself, whatever.
This is how I felt about just essentially sort of all crime, basically, but particularly, if you're gonna involve yourself in taking another human being's life, I think you really need to have an awfully good reason. I know.
Yeah.
This is why, like things like crime and robbery have never appealed to me, because I look and I think, is there really enough money in the world to conceivably a good 50-50 chance you're going to get shot or at best go to prison for the rest of your life? Is there enough money in the world to pay for that? And so far, I don't think so. So that kind of lets me out of that whole thing. But it's the same thing. I'm amazed, but what little it seems to take to push people towards these grand, violent and just tragic episodes. Just it's quite dreadful.
Yeah, and of course you get these people out there that'll blame movies and video games,
Oh yes, well those people in the Dark Ages in Europe were watching way too much TV.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
That's that nasty Spanish Inquisition. Too many video games for Torquemada. That's what happened. No, I'm afraid human beings have always just really, really liked hurting each other, and I don't know why any more than anyone else does. It seems to be built into our DNA, and hopefully with proper care, training, and some evolution, we might grow out of this crap. But it seems to be as old as we are on this planet. I don't think films, television, books, or anything. It's like the old story about the devil doesn't have a difficult job.
No.
He really just has to sneak up on people and whisper suggestions.
Well, it's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey when the ape uses the bone. Do you remember he was watching TV before he did that?
Yeah, the damned ape was watching too many commercials, and and what's with these bones anyway? They should have taken those bones out of there and made it safer so that no ape would have. Yeah, no, it's just it's apparently in our nature to justify being brutal to each other, and it's a real shame. Was it Charles Bukowski, who I got to know, fortunately? And
I saw his movie, Bukowski, Born Into This.
Yeah, well, Hank was quite a guy, and he said a wonderful thing. I'm paraphrasing, but the whole idea that we're all going to die. Everybody on this planet who's ever lived and whoever will live is going to die, and that alone should really make us just love each other, unconditionally. Just the fact that we're all in the same boat. But it doesn't. And we're just bogged down by these trivialities and inconsequential things that just take up our lives and, eat up all our time and turn us against each other. And it's very sad.
We're all going to die, and I don't want to get preachy with you, but like I come from a Christian household, so I believe death is just a doorway to something better.
Well, why not?
Yep. But hey, yeah. But
I don't. I've had my couple of brushes with Mr. Death here and there, and it's I don't think I know what I believe or what I like. I'm one of these doubting Thomas guys. I'm like the Apostle Thomas. Mm-hmm. I'm sticking my fingers in the in the wounds. I want to make sure is this real? So.
You know what I often tell people?
It's all possible to me, as far as I'm concerned. It's what do I know? And it could. Who knows? And it's all fine with me, whatever it is, whatever it all turns out to be. I'm sure it's all a good thing.
I often tell people, who ask me, how do I know? And I said, I don't know what to tell them, but I say if I get into an accident on the way home and it claims my life, I know I'm going to be in a better place afterwards. And I say I have total faith in that. And there's days like, if I look out and I come to this reflection when there's a gorgeous clear blue sky out. And it's like, I think of people that, like my grandparents and whatnot who are gone. I think they're in a much better place, So that's kind of with me.
Why not? I mean, I honestly, what I think, if you really pin me down on what do I believe about, I basically think that this experience of life and the universe and multiverse, whatever the hell's going on here, this whole experience of consciousness is very friendly and very malleable. And I think pretty much what it is we individually as people think or believe or have faith in is probably true, no matter if it's different. I think everybody gets pretty much what they want. So I think it's fine. I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. You know what I mean?
But
So I think that yeah, sure. Both my parents are gone. I think of them in a better place all the time, and I think about what they think about what's going on, or I reflect on how they would think about things, and that's fine. And if that's only happening in my mind, that's okay. But if that's happening in some greater plan, that's great too. One way or the other, I think that pretty much, this place we live in was made really pretty friendly. It's us who sometimes get unfriendly, but the natural world and the natural existence is a pretty. Well, Einstein said something about that too. It's the universe is friendly, and it's not only just friendly. It's it's downright malleable. I mean, So I'm open. I'm open to all ideas, and I respect everybody's beliefs, because everybody has the right to their own beliefs and their own faith and their own interpretation of their experience. Everybody. That's one right every human being has.
It's interesting because you mentioned if you kill somebody, you best have a darn good reason. And I kind of thought of Perry King's Mr. Norris. He had no choice in his situation.
Well, again, we're talking about a movie versus reality. In terms of the parable of the movie, I'm not sure that I take Mr. Norris's choice to wipe out the gang as being a victorious choice on his part, although I'm sure a lot of people did.
Okay, tell me your take on it. I'm saying from the point of view is that he had to rescue his wife.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he needed to as graphically and brutally slaughter everybody in order to do that, but it was a movie, and that was, and we had it coming.
Yeah.
so that's how it works. We had it coming, and so we got it, and that's how it is. But I think the character of Norris, at the risk of being awfully heavy about just an entertainment, really, I think the character of Norris is changed by that experience, and I don't think in a necessarily favorable way. And I think Perry registered that pretty well. I mean, he didn't enjoy doing any of that. He certainly, I think the thing that's very clear in that whole thing, whether or not, I'm not saying he's justified in his violence, because I don't know that any real violence is justified. But one thing you can say is that there's a huge difference between what motivated Mr. Norris and what motivated Stegman and Fallon and Drugstore and Patsy and Barnyard. We actually enjoyed hurting people.
Yep.
And that was the characters we were playing. We were playing these archetypal of, really enjoyed causing pain and damage and stuff, particularly Drugstore. And Norris, of course, doesn't. And the whole thing is that he's pushed to the point where he can't go any further, And that's part of the sort of mythology of movies that's a really healthy part of movies, which they used to refer to as cathartic. Now they try and, blame violence in the streets on it. I'm not sure that's a good connection. I think it's better cathartic. I think it's fine for people to see stories told like Aesop's Fable. It doesn't matter what it is, stories told about the good man who's pushed to the brink where he can't take it anymore, and then he lashes out against his better judgment, but he has to do it, and the whole thing. And that's a very, very satisfying moment for audiences. And what's wrong with that? I don't think that the movie suggests that what you ought to do with, young punks is, set them on fire and cut their arms off and drop cars on them. I think the story has other messages there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I gotta wonder, though, too, when he gets the photograph before the cantata there, I gotta wonder what would have happened had he not chased after him and maybe got the authorities.
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, the way they set that up, of course, because it's it's a movie, is that they made the authorities very, very standoffish and Al Waxman really was detached as the cop and everything, and the principal was no help, and and Roddy McDowell was the voice that kept saying, there's no way out of this. This is the way it is. So that was all set up so that now in the real world, there's every likelihood that had he gone to the authorities, he would have gotten some action. On the other hand, it's not completely out of line because we know this kid, this most recent Florida shooter, was on the local police and FBI radar for like a year.
Oh, wow.
They knew who this guy was. They'd been watching his social media pages. They had quotes from him about wanting to do a shooting and all this stuff. They knew he had weapons. He'd been ready to go to some mental health care program and then had been turned down and sent back to school. So, and we find that it doesn't happen everywhere. But every once in a while, people do slip through the cracks. And but in Class of 84, that's a construct. And in order to make the story work, you have to have no police. Because otherwise, then Mr. Norris's character is really a maniac, and he can't be a maniac. He's the hero. He has to have no choice, like you said, no choice but to do this. And that means you have to cut off the police, you have to cut off any kind of protection or defense or any kind of legal apparatus that he has at his disposal, and then you have to make the villains, us, extra nasty and put a time limit on it, like his wife's life.
Yep.
And then he doesn't have a choice. And that's just screenwriting.
It's interesting. That police station, I've come to find out that was the same police station that was in Black Christmas as well.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I think we had a lot of the same art department.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me. I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. No, before I had you on here, it was yesterday when because I work nights, so I got home in the morning and I stuck Class of 1984, and I was listening to the commentary track on it, and I thought I would look at little Timbits and this and there, and I don't know. I often questioned Mark Lester. I kind of was shaking my head listening to the commentary because most people, and people could say, well, he's done so many movies, blah, 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 blah. But I've seen commentary tracks with people where they know just the littlest detail about their movie. And he claims this is one of his favorite movies he's done. But yet, never once in the movie does he mention Lisa by name or Neil Clifford by name or Aaron Noble by name. Not
Right.
once. And Keith Knight gets mentioned by name only once, and it was in relation to the fact that he replaced somebody who didn't want to cut his hair.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, he mentioned you. He said you had a stunt double when you swung from the rope. You did not, did you?
Oh, yeah, they had a stunt double. Yeah, they had a stunt double for me. I didn't use the stunt double on the rope swing because just like the fight scene, I wanted to do that thing where I came in and stumbled and fell off the rope. You know, like a real person.
Yeah.
Instead of us all being like super bad guys, you know, who never fall down or get hurt or anything like that. So yeah, there was a stunt double and for me, and I forget, we may have even split that rope thing because there was a very high mezzanine on the thing, and I think, you know, there are things to, you know, there are considerations to doing stunts that have nothing to do with actors. I mean, there's insurance to consider, and the fact of the matter is that no producer worth their salt is going to let, you know, a principal actor who's established in the film do something that could conceivably take them out of production for a while. And I know that actors like to say, I do all my own stunts and everything like that. And yeah, you know, it's nice to do as many things as are safe because it's nice so that the camera can get in close and see that it's really you. Although these days, you don't even really need to do that because with a little CGI work and some compiling, you can stick my face on any stunt double's body doing anything, and that's done frequently.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, Kevin Spacey was just entirely replaced in that recent film by Ridley Scott about the Getty kidnapping. And Kevin Spacey was replaced entirely by Chris Plummer. They reshot all of his scenes with Chris Plummer, and then they took Chris Plummer's face, and when they couldn't reshoot the scenes in North Africa with Kevin Spacey, they just stuck his face on Kevin Spacey's body and had him dub the dialogue. So...
Oh, I felt bad. I always
brave
liked
new
Kevin
world.
Spacey, too.
It's a brave new world in terms of all of that kind of stuff. But as far as, yeah, you know, if I think it's worth it and it means something to this whatever I'm doing, to do this stunt, like the fight with the going down, getting knocked down, or stumbling on the rope and that kind of stuff, that's important to me because I think, okay, that's like part of what I'm doing. That's part of my job becomes, you know, being the guy who falls down so that it doesn't look silly, you know. So I take that job. if I can do those things and safely, I'll do them. But no, I'm not going to do, and believe me, no producer is going to let me do anything that's really going to hurt me. And I've seen a couple of directors do that with actors in the past, and or at least try and get them to do things, and it's just a bad idea, you know. And I always feel I like stunt guys. You know, I knew Hal Needham quite well because I did a movie that Way West movie. Hal Needham was a stunt double on that, and Hal and I became friends, and we were friends for years. And I really have great respect for stuntmen and the Stuntmen's Association and stuff. These guys, you know, that's how they make their living. So, you know, when people come to me on a set, or a director comes to me and says, "Do you want to do this?" Well, no, I don't. If it's acceptable for this guy over here to do, he's going to make me look better than I'm ever going to look. And he's going to, you know, pay his rent and feed his wife and kids, you know, and why am I going to, I'm going to take away his job because of my ego, because I got to have my face in this thing, and I'm not going to pull it off as good as him anyway, because he's an athlete. I'm not, I'm an actor.
I've had a few stunt people on here, too.
What's that?
I've had a few stunt people on my show here, too.
Those guys are amazing.
Oh, yes, they are. Yep. I remember having Ted White on here, who was stunt person. He played Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Yeah.
And he was talking about doing a film for, I'm trying to think of the name of the director, and why is it escaping me? Well, he did this picture in Africa that involved a rhinoceros. And I'm going to tell you, he said it was a scary stunt to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty interesting interview with him, and of course Jean Coulter was on here as well, and she talked about her tragedy working on Cujo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Listen, I forget the guy's name, but he's a terrific guy. The guy who did my burn gag in Class of '84 at the end of the movie. That's what this guy did. I mean, that was his gig, and he did it twice in the film. We did 2 takes of that, and I think he got like $20,000 a pop for that. Hey, you know, I mean, and I remember Mark coming up to me at one point and saying something like, "Now, do you want to try and do this thing with the flame? Because, I mean, they can do fire retardant and stuff." And I said, "Are you suggesting that you want me to tell you to set me on fire?" And he said, "Well, I was just thinking that maybe, you know, if it was safe and everything." I said, "No, no. No, this guy over here is really good. He does this all the time, you know." And you work with those guys too. Like I spent some time with the guy, and I said, "Okay, look, when you're in flames, as me, what do you need to do? How do you need to walk and move?" And he goes, "Well, first thing is keep your arms down. Don't put your arms up above your head, because if you put your arms above your head, the fire goes up. It becomes uncontrollable. You keep your arms down, and keep your legs apart if you can, so that they don't come together and the fire doesn't join between the legs." And he said, "So that's what I'm going to be doing." I said, "Well, good. Then that's what I'm going to be doing just before I catch fire and become you, because then that's going to look better, because our body language will be the same."
Yeah. Did Mark Lester really said that to you?
He said such funny things sometimes. He's a character. I know that Mark's not terribly popular with a lot of the members of the cast of that movie, and I happen to know he's not terribly popular with the cast of a lot of other films too. But you know, but I personally, I must tell you, I never had any trouble with Mark. I think he's kind of funny guy, and I've done 2 pictures for him, and if he called me tomorrow, I'd probably do another one. I don't condone, the way that he's treated other actors and stuff like that. But on a personal basis, I don't have any personal thing with him, other than, I suppose if I were to run into him or talk to him, I'd probably say, "Hey, what is all this buzz I'm hearing about how you treated the Canadian actors and they're all upset, and what's that all about?" But he like I said, he didn't mistreat me, and maybe that's because I was on a SAG contract from LA. I don't know.
You did get mentioned by name in the movie, so.
Well, it's funny. Lisa Langlois, she said to me, she one time she said, "Well, you probably don't know how badly he treated everybody because you wouldn't put up with it." And I said, and I thought to myself, I wouldn't put up with it. I don't remember not putting up with it. It's like, boy, that's a great image to have and everything. Mr. Tough Guy, I wouldn't put up with it. But I'm afraid I really don't remember.
And you were the biggest wimp of the gang.
Well, that's what I was going. I thought, well, somebody's got to be a sniveling little, evil coward. Because a lot of those guys, those gangster tough guys and everything, they're real sniveling little weasels. And I thought, I didn't, I'm not going to go into a whole big, Stanislavski bullshit thing about, Drugstore. But there's a few characters I've known that I sort of thought of when I was playing that. I thought, okay, I know some slimy guys.
So Mark Lester didn't say to Neil Clifford, "Can we saw your arm off on that?"
Well, to be very honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if he had. I don't know that he did, but but it is sort of the kind of thing he might say.
Can we run you over with the car and drop the other car on you?
There was some kind of nonsense about that, about Keith being in the car or something like that. I forget what that was, but there was some kind of silliness working that out. No, Mark is a definitely wade across a river of fire to get a shot kind of guy. And
can we hang you at the end of the movie? Are you okay with that?
I think he just sort of, I think he just tries things out. I think he just sort of says this to somebody, see what happens. You don't know. They might say, "Oh, sure, fine," but.
Oh man,
I don't know. I actually find the guy. I like the guy. I never had any direct problems with him. Like I say, I don't condone any of his behavior that I've heard about with other people. But he didn't do anything to me. So.
Well, I haven't heard from him, but after hearing about some of the stuff, I'm wondering how I'd even approach him in an interview, because this is a film I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of, and yet it's caused so many people some problems, that worked on it, and that kind of bothers me, Well,
the truth of the matter is that movies are not easy things, and they're not always pleasant experiences. And what's always been interesting to me is that comedies tend to be the most intense, grueling things to make.
Oh,
out of everything, you would think they would be really funny. They're not usually, and you got a whole bunch of people involved, several hundred people involved in making this, essentially sort of collaborative effort, but it isn't really. It's not a democracy. There's, someone in charge, and everybody's doing their own thing, and everybody's kind of on their own ego, and that's not necessarily a negative unless it gets too out of control, but everybody's looking out for themselves and figuring, okay, well, what's my job in this thing? For everybody from wardrobe to hair, that's a lot of people with a lot of personal lives and a lot of stuff going on. You take them out of town, you put them in someplace else on location, and everybody gets goofy because it's not their hometown, and it's like, oh, it's Disneyland, But no, there have been some movies I've done that have been complete pleasures to work on, and have just pigged out at the box office. And there have been other movies and shows I've worked on that have been just hell to get through, and they did very well.
Tell me your worst experience.
What's that?
What's your worst experience on a movie?
Gee, that would be tough to pin down. I would have to go in categories for that.
Name a few.
I don't know if I'd want to do that. I'll tell you, I did one film one time with a guy who was the director, who was a real big time cinema teacher, like at UCLA, or big, and famous, and wrote books and the whole thing and everything like that. And he directed this movie, and this was before video taps in the camera, where you could look at the image and everything. So basically, the director really needs to be next to the camera to see what's going on. And I continuously would look over, and I'd see this guy standing way over on the right side under a light somewhere while we're shooting a take. And I went up to him. I said, How do you know what's going on in this shot? You're not anywhere near. Oh, I have it all in my head, he tells me. Oh, okay. It would be lovely if you'd share it with us. But, no, I'm not going to badmouth people like that. But, yeah, it's goofy.
I'm not asking you to give names, but, like, just circumstances that happen. You don't even have to mention the film, That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, Class of '84 was not an easy picture to make.
Which one?
Class of '84 was not an easy picture to make. There was a lot of things. There were a lot of little problems and stuff, and then it wasn't really that put together when we all got there. I mean, the screenplay was pretty loose. I mean, in terms of me, there was no drugstore. I mean, there was a character named Drugstore in the film. There was virtually no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark had said, "Would you just come in and do something?" and, so like that wasn't easy. They all have their challenges. I did a little movie up in British Columbia a few years ago where I played a particularly irredeemable serial killer, which is very tough. And listen, I played the devil in a movie, so I can always find something about these villains and vampires and monsters and stuff, some kind of quality that because I don't believe that anybody gets up in the morning, no matter what they are or who they are, and goes woo ha 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 and twirls their mustache like Snidely Whiplash. I think people may do tremendously evil things, but they're doing them for reasons that they believe in, Mm-hmm. I mean, Adolf Hitler was really trying to unify Germany, Yeah. I mean, and look how bad that went.
Yep.
So, it's not the intent of these people, it's their actual practice that becomes the problem. In this particular case, this guy had nothing going for him. This guy was just barely human as far as I'm concerned, and I had to do this whole a couple of really, really brutal murder scenes, and with these marvelous actresses who put up with so much, and and that haunted me for weeks. I really did not enjoy that film. That was really hard to do because I just had to be brutal and crazy and disgusting and violent and destructive all the time. And that's hard. That because you start pulling stuff out of yourself and saying, okay, well, what would I do in this circumstance? And if all you're reaching for is all the bile and the horrible crap and all that stuff, after a while that becomes very depressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they all have their challenges, and some of them are physical challenges, the movie itself, or there's all kinds of things. I mean, and it doesn't matter about budgets. As a matter of fact, I found actually lower budget movies tend to get real creative and get things done because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I do one of these $280 million popcorn movies, Hollywood popcorn movies, they can like burn down all the sets and go home, put everybody on hold for a year, and rebuild them, and it'll be fine.
Yep.
And and if they don't have a script, well, what the hell? They'll just build a bigger set and shoot that. I mean, so it's so you see abuses in all these situations, and it isn't easy. Making a movie isn't an easy thing to do. If it was, everybody would do it, and it looks like everybody's doing it, but they're not.
It's funny because I remember when I was in Toronto, and I was actually having dinner with Lisa, and I got this. We were winding down, and I said to Lisa, I said, I got a message on Facebook, and it actually regarded my class of 1984 interviews. And it's funny, I've had Mary Lynn Ross on the show, but I find I get more questions about you and Lisa out of that movie, and it kind of dawned on me that with that movie, people really liked the gang members. And you mentioned on paper there was nothing there for dialogue. It says a lot about what the five of you, actually I should say four, because I mean, Timothy Van Patten had a pretty large role, but between the four of you and the supporting gang, it says a lot about what you guys brought to the forum that people would be asking me or other people about you folks.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because that isn't just true of me in that film, but that was actually probably Lisa and I were the two who had to come up with the most stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, because of his character and because he was described in the film and all that, and the physical presence of that character, he didn't have to do a lot. He did a lot of wonderful stuff. I adored Keith Knight, and he was a funny guy and a great actor. But his job was just to be the big menacing guy.
Yep.
And again, and with Neil too. Neil really just, I thought he did a brilliant job, and the fact that he was a dancer, I'm sure helped because he really moved in a very Panther-like fashion throughout the whole film, and he was always spinning around things, and so his presence is very physical too. Tim, of course, has a developed character, which is supposed to sort of reflect on the rest of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Lisa and I were left with the most to come up with.
Yeah.
And I think it was, and I have to hand it to Lisa, because Lisa didn't really have any kind of life experience to pull on for the Patsy character. I at least had the experience of, having been around enough of the music business and the punk scene and all that kind of stuff and everything, and I'd played in those clubs, and I knew those people, and I knew, so I knew that whole scene. So, as a matter of fact, like I said, I wore a lot of my own clothes, which were stuff from the King's Road in London and stuff. And Tony. And Tony Harris Freed and his Vivienne Westwood Ultravox shirt. And but Lisa had very little to draw on. I mean, she really, and she would occasionally come and ask me certain questions that just, about, the punk scene and this and that, or she'd ask me about, certain, just the different elements of that I think she was focusing in on the character and stuff. I'm not the only person she asked, I'm sure, but I think she did a hell of a job because she didn't have any really to pull on, and she created that. She really did.
She really sexualized the character too, like grabbing the nightstick and going up and down with it in her hand, all the gestures and the
not in a script.
Yep, and this
Elizabeth Taylor, all that stuff not in the script. That's all Lisa's.
Yep, and the stuff was sucking on the end of the clarinet there of Aaron Nobles, and
she was funny too because we do takes like that, and she would do these things like that. And I would start laughing, right after we'd cut. I just start laughing. I say, Lisa, what are you doing with this sucking on the camera? And she would get like embarrassed. And she'd say, "Oh God, do you think that was too much? Should I stick my tongue out like that? I don't know if I should do that. Oh, did that look bad? Did it look really bad?"
Oh, she was great.
It's great stuff. But she would just do it. She would just spontaneously do this stuff. And I think it was because she felt like kind of adrift. She didn't exactly know what she was supposed to be doing. So she would just do these outrageous things right in the middle of these scenes. Nobody knew they were happening. And she would just do them. And you go, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked her in it. And especially there at the end when she's all done up.
Yeah.
And I love the contrast of the lighting in the corridors and her taunting Mr. Norris, and just the way the lighting is on her, the lighting is in the corridor. It's very creepy.
Albert Dunk was the director of photography on that movie, and that guy is really very, very clever. I really enjoyed working with Burt Dunk. And he shot that, he lit it, and it was good work. I mean, I think that's the thing that really makes that film work, is how well put together it is, and just it's very utilitarian, but it's just well shot, it's well cut, it's well put together, it's got good pace. So from a technical standpoint, it all clicks into place.
Yes,
If
absolutely.
It didn't have that with it, then it would just be a mishmash of stuff, Blackboard Jungle Warriors thing,
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It does sort of stand on its own, and I think that's largely, Burt and the crew and the cast, of course.
Yes, absolutely. Lisa did a great job in the film, and Keith Knight, you don't hear enough about him, but I'm going to tell you, between Meatballs, Class of 1984, and My Bloody Valentine, three very different performances out of him.
Mm-hmm. No, he was a tremendous guy. He was. We were very close. We became very good friends almost immediately. He had a great sense of humor. He was a very, very funny guy, and he was very good at picking up stuff and improv stuff and winging it and stuff like that. And so he and I got along really well together because we just would start, throwing stuff back and forth, and yeah. But I liked them all. I mean, Neil was terrific, and Neil, I just really liked him. I always thought he was just I thought this guy he's got sensitive artists written all over him, boy. I mean, this guy is intense, and he was, and quite brilliant.
I tried to see if I could find Keith Knight's wife to come on here to do a tribute for him, and I could not find her anywhere online. I mean, I got the name of his wife and whatnot, but couldn't find her anywhere. But no, I wanted to see if I could make him part of the 35th anniversary last year, because not enough is said about the range he had.
Is you might check with ACTRA, with the Canadian Union, ACTRA, and call and tell them exactly what you're doing, that you're trying to locate the surviving spouse of Keith Knight, and that you'd like very much to speak with her and do an interview or something like that. If they have a location on her, they will pass the message on.
Yeah.
And they should, because he would still be receiving residuals and things on work that he did during his life, and they would go to his wife.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make it because I contacted a lot of you to come on for the 35th anniversary, and I wanted to make him part of it as well. Mary Lynn Ross, I wasn't able to get back on here because she was really swamped, but I did speak with her, though. She was very, very pleasant. Eventually, I'll get her back on, but she wanted to come back on in January, but I got a little overplugged with interviews, so but I'm still in touch with her, But you mentioned Neil Clifford, too. There's somebody, too, that I've been in touch with, and I feel so. I feel his pain, and I'm not saying that to sound dramatic, but I really feel that he was really wronged during the making of that movie.
Yeah, well,
I mean, when it comes to the birth of your,
to let a guy,
yeah,
leave the set while his wife's having a baby is a little strong, yeah.
yeah. Well, I know that he had mentioned to me that about the Canadian actors and whatnot. Me being Canadian, I've got to take the side of the Canadian actors on this one.
Well, yeah. Listen, I'm Canadian too. I
Yep.
was born in Toronto, and I take the side of actors. Period. I don't care where they're from. I don't think anyone should be treated like that. And I run into that before. Well, actually, not too long ago, maybe about 10 years ago, I was doing a picture up in British Columbia, and they had segregated the circus, the trailers, where everybody is, to the Canadian actor side and the American actor side. And they had guys like standing around saying, "Hey, you're on the American actor side. You need to get back over the Canadian." And I went immediately to the first AD and said, "I'm calling the union unless you do something about this right now, because that is outrageous." You have principal actors from two countries. These aren't extras over here. These are principal actors.
Yeah.
They're local hires, but they're principal actors. Some of them have parts bigger than the American actors you brought up from L.A., and you're segregating them?
Mm-hmm.
So, you run into that kind of nonsense. But Canada's not the only place, and American productions in Canada is not the only place that happens. I've seen that in European productions. It's just extra foolishness that just gets in the way of doing our business and making stuff to entertain people, and playing all these games. It's nonsense. It just gets in the way.
Yeah. Well, next time I'm in Toronto, I'm going to look Lisa up and hook up with her again. But I know I've been in touch with Neil Clifford on email, and I said to him, he actually was in China when I was in Toronto,
right,
because Lisa had tried to get in touch with him because I was in town, but I got him an email from Neil, and he said he was in the far reaches of China, and he was really very, very happy that Lisa had spoken out about the class of 1984 situation, because he said it's kind of a sore spot for him. He was not rude to me at all,
No, he'd have no reason to be.
No.
No, I don't know him to have been rude to anybody. I know he was very upset about the way he's treated on that film. Also, Neil, Neil had done many other things. He'd been a dancer. He's always been a painter and a sculptor and stuff like that. But at that particular time in his life, he had been sort of picked out, and he had a nice agent, and people were telling him really good things about this acting career, and he was getting some work and stuff. And Class of '84 came up, and I'll tell you, probably more than anyone else, I think he really threw himself into that. He was so committed to that, making that thing work.
Yep.
And he really got crapped on for it.
Yeah.
And he got badmouthed too. That's another thing that happened. And I'm not sure how that happened and who did it, but he got badmouthed by some people after that picture. And it hurt his career, and it soured him on it. And it was kind of a dream of his. Now he has other dreams and is successful at them. But it was a dream of his that really got, spit on. And that hurts.
Lisa's ran into that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all have at some point or another. There's always been one thing or one idea or one thing we always wanted to do, and it's elusive, or it's or the experience is not what we expect, and it can be very heartbreaking. And I know Neil is a very, very sensitive guy, and I know that it really, really hurt him.
Yeah.
And and I'm just really glad that he didn't let that drag him down, and he went back doing what he does so beautifully, and went back into plastic arts and sculpting and stuff. And I know that Chinese sculpture is a tremendous inspiration to him, Chinese art. So I think it's terrific what he's done.
He does some
But
terrific work.
I think it's very sad what was done to him, because I think he was a very good actor, and I think had he not been so trounced by that movie, or had he been able to shake that off, he could have had a really, really nice career. And I think that's probably, he knows that, and I think that's probably what upsets him.
Well, he did say he's open to meeting me next time I'm in Toronto. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I think Lisa and I are going to stop in and see him. And yeah, I kind of want to have a face-to-face with him, because I hope he knows I'm not doing a TMZ thing here, like, because I like this film, but it's like, my goodness, I'm hearing all this stuff, and it's like, I don't even know how. Like, I'm open to having Mark Lester on, but it's kind of like I can't avoid these questions if I do have him on.
Well, it's one of those tough situations where, again, you have to be able to appreciate it on a one-to-one personal level, but you have to kind of deal with it on a professional level.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that, on a personal level, that was a really crappy thing to have happen, and it hurt Neil, and it upset him, and it sidelined his career, and but he did go on to make choices that I think were positive choices, probably better choices than if he'd have stayed with the career, to be honest, because I think he was a little too sensitive, to be truthful. This is a really, really tough business that tremendous, and people talk about rejection all the time. Rejection is the least of it. I mean, you got people actually coming out and, like making up horrendous, about you got all this stuff that people say about you. About half of it is true, about half of it is bullshit, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you have to have tough skin, and to get through this. But so on the one hand, yes, it's terrible that was done to Neil. On the other hand, Mark Lester was making a movie. He was directing a movie, and I don't agree with the way that he went about it on that particular picture. I must tell you that 17 years later, I made a movie with him, and I didn't see any of that kind of thing.
Sure.
I didn't see anything like that. I saw a much mellower, much quieter, easier going Mark.
Yeah.
So maybe he went through some kind of change. I really don't know. We didn't talk about Class of '84 very much. We referred to it a couple of times. We didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any of the stuff. Now, again, I didn't see a lot of the stuff. I mean, I knew about what happened with Neil, and I knew, some of the stuff that happened with Lisa. I didn't know all of it, though, because I was kept sort of in the dark about all that stuff.
You're busy tearing up poor Tony's shirt.
Yeah, and at least half of Toronto. Yeah, I was a bad boy. But which probably saved me, actually, because in terms of character at the time, I was far worse than Mark was. So there was very little he could do to me.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I didn't notice. But yeah, it's a very sad thing. It's tragic. However, I think in the long run, probably Neil's a lot happier having.
He does some great art. I'll say that. I've looked at his webpage.
He's brilliant, and I think he's a lot happier doing what he's doing. At least I certainly hope he is. And I don't think he. I think eventually, probably he would have gone back and done that anyway, because I don't think that being an actor would have fulfilled him completely. I think he needed more.
Well, if he's going to China, I'd say he's being fulfilled.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting him. I know it's something that Lisa and I have decided. And another person I plan to meet too is Erin Noble. And she would have met me before, but her mom was in from out of L.A., so she wasn't able to. But Erin, again, I loved Erin Noble, and I know she didn't have the best experience on Class of 1984 either, but between her and Lisa, they both sang happy birthday to me.
That's sweet, yeah. Listen, if you speak to Neil and you get a number on him or something like that, or feel free to give him mine, please, and Aaron too, and please tell him I would love to speak to them.
I will do that. I'll do that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's been years. I haven't talked to Neil in a long, long time. And I would love to talk to him. I think it would be very nice. And I'd like to talk to Aaron, too. So please, pass it on.
Sure, I'll do that, yeah. I tried to reach Aaron with the van incident, but I didn't hear back. I was really concerned about people letting try. I even messaged Neil, and because that was pretty tragic. And, I'm not there, but... I never met Neil in person, but I did talk to Lisa and Leslie and Aaron, and I was like, I was a little concerned,
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, Michael J. Fox is going to be at Toronto, what is it? The Fan Expo.
Oh, the Fan Expo, yeah? Oh,
yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. Oh,
good for him.
I often wondered what he thought of Class of 1984.
Not a lot.
Really?
Not a whole lot. He had done a really, really wonderful, very, very classy show called Cooperstown, a series of 13-part thing that was on PBS, and that's what had really gotten him attention. And I think he did another little indie picture, and he did Class of '84. Right after he did Class of '84, he left for L.A. and he was going to meet the Family Ties folks. He didn't know that then. I mean, he did, but he didn't know what it was. Neither did we. But and so no, I don't think I've never heard Michael mention Class of '84.
No, I never either. Like, I've heard he's a great guy, though.
He's a terrific guy.
Yeah.
But from a career point of view, where he went, and on the level that he went on, there was no reason to go back and mine the Michael Fox movie.
Oh, come on! He wouldn't have been able to face Biff and his gang on the hoverboard had he not dealt with Stegman.
Yeah, if we'd have known he could play like that.
Yes. No, but
different.
Yeah. So I know he's going to be at Fan Expo. I won't be there for that, but I know he's probably going to get a lot of Back to the Future and Teen Wolf, and Stuart Little. If I was there, I would have brought my Class of 1984. I'm wondering what he would have thought.
Oh, he probably would have loved it. He privately, but like I say, it's just it's the past for him. It's a long time ago, and so many things have happened since then. So, but we're gonna actually. I spoke to Gary Conway yesterday, and Gary and I are, because this year is our 50th Land of the Giants anniversary, apparently.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm told. So Gary is very interested in trying to get what's left of us. There's really only 4 of us left, and apparently Deanna is not feeling all that well at this moment, and I don't know whether she really feels like traveling, but we'll see. But we'll get Heather and Gary and myself and Deanna out to, I think we're going to probably try the Chiller Con in New Jersey. I shouldn't even be saying this because I haven't even talked to anybody about this yet. But at any rate, I think we're going to do it out here because they were very nice to us in 2004 and had a sort of Giants reunion thing with everybody, with the exception, of course, of Kirk Kasner. But at that time, Kevin Hagan, who had played the SID inspector on Land of the Giants. He sort of filled in, was like the seventh member of the cast. He's a wonderful guy. But there's only 4 of us left now, and this is probably the last hurrah for that. So we're going to try and make a big deal out of it. We might do a couple of them. We'll see. We'll see what works out.
Yeah, hopefully too. Like I wasn't able to round a bunch of you up for class of 1984, but hopefully, I'd like to do the Horeb Rama thing again, and
Sure.
maybe we can get you out to that some point. I'm gonna get in touch with Chris Alexander because that was who ran it, and I know Lisa said I should. She wants to put me in touch with him. And
when do they run that?
It ran. Now it depends. I know it's ran at the end of October before, but when I was there, it went for. It was on the first weekend in November when I was there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
And what I really liked about Horeb Rama is I was able to get really close and talk to these people without having to smother them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like it because I hear of these things, you get such long lineups, and they shuffle you through, and it was kind of nice to be able to stop by and say, hey, blah 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 blah, and that was nice.
Yeah, I like to I'd stay at the table and stuff, but I like to get out and, mingle and talk to people and stuff like that at those things. Because otherwise you're just sitting at a table and people are, walking by in a line and, hi, how you doing,
Do you get a lot of class of 1984 memorabilia to sign?
Oh, yeah. I get that, and I get Fear No Evil stuff, and, and of course Land of Giants stuff. And then recently, of course, I've been getting, like, X-Files stuff and Fringe stuff, and which is always nice to know that people are keeping up with my present.
Yeah. Are you still signing bras and panties there?
Am I still what?
Signing bras and panties there?
Oh, no. That was a special request, and Claire actually handled that because I would not be handling any or signing anyone's bra unless Claire was there and in charge of what was happening. So
I thought that was a funny picture. Yeah, you should take a piece of Tony's clothing and sign it for him.
There you go.
After you've tattered it up.
Or just cut it up in little strips and sell them, like the Beatles sheets.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hoping to get him on the show eventually. I got him on Facebook. So.
His dad, Seymour Freed, which is what his dad became a judge. Now, have you ever heard a better name for a judge than Seymour Freed? But he was an attorney for years before he became a California Supreme Court judge, and he was Lenny Bruce's attorney. I think he handled Miles Davis. He handled all these jazz guys and really incredible stuff. And Tony's mom, Marilyn, was just a trip, and they're real 50s beat 60s family. And then Tony and his brother Danny, who's unfortunately passed away, but Danny and I were very good friends. And Tony's been playing and doing his thing since he was probably about 13, 14 years old, all over the world, and has played with some incredible people. He's just got great stories.
Yeah, I'm
really
hoping
does.
to get him.
You got to tag him and get him on sometime. Unfortunately he's been dealing with some health issues, but yeah, I think he seems to be dealing with them fine. You'll get him. He's probably just trying to figure out why you want to interview him.
Yeah.
Once you get him started, he won't shut up. I'll tell you that right now. You ask him about one or two questions, and then that's it. And then you can go get lunch.
Oh, I remember when I had Bruce Glover. Bruce Glover went 3 hours, and it was almost all him.
There you go. Bruce? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Bruce went 3 hours. I could not believe it. I'm not upset, It's just he had stories to share, but I could not believe somebody was on my show for 3 hours.
Oh, well, yeah, Bruce, yeah. Well, get Crispin on the show. Jeez.
I would like to get Crispin, yes.
Crispin and I did a really fun little picture together, and became friends. He's truly one of the uniquely original people.
I would love to get Crispin.
Certainly is too, but Crispin carries on that gene. He is absolutely an original guy.
Yeah, I would love to get Crispin on the show. Yep.
Yeah, he would be a lot of fun to have on. He is quite a character.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun working together.
Did
Very
you
sweet guy. Very nice guy. But really from a planet not unlike our own.
Yeah. Did you ever hear my interview with Gord Lewis of Teenage Head?
No, I didn't.
I've got it up on YouTube.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I know you was asking me about that.
I will check it out. I will definitely take a look.
Yeah, because I love that song, Little Boxes.
Yes.
I always was upset they never have that mention in the credits at the end of Class of 1984. They have Ain't Got No Sense mentioned, but not that one. And Little Boxes, it's funny, and I've said this before, I sound like a broken record, but it's the first time I see a nude woman on the screen, and I'm more into the background song.
Well, that may have been a separate contract. That may have been a Source Music contract, and if they were under like 20 seconds of usage in the Source Music, they probably didn't have to credit it. They probably didn't even have to pay for it.
Actually, it's all through the background of the Kokor scene.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot more than 20 seconds.
Well, then they got away with murder.
Like if you watch that scene, you'll hear Little Boxes in the background.
Oh, no, I know it's playing there. I haven't seen it in a long time. So, but yeah. Well, no, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, things like that get left out.
Another guy I'm trying to get on here, the lead singer from Fear, because he was also in
Lee.
He was also in Get Crazy as well, and I'm hoping to.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love.
Leaving. Lee's an old friend of mine from L.A. and and he's quite a character. Yes, you should definitely have him on. He'd be a fun guy to have on. Yeah,
because he did the Let's Start a War. That was in Class of 1984, but he was also in Get Crazy as well, which I thought was a pretty funny movie. So I'll go see if I can get him to come on here. And the other thing I wanted to ask you too, I know we haven't got to your music yet. We will talk about it, but we've got to ask about little Jenny Wright. How's she doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't spoken to Jenny in a while. I understand from what I hear, she's doing okay, and she's upstate, I guess, or actually no, she's on Long Island, and she's working on that book, trying to get that book done, which should be a fabulous book. But I haven't spoken to her in a while, and that's really more my responsibility than hers. I've just been so busy with stuff, and I just haven't had a chance. As a matter of fact, I was looking at an email she had sent me last year, just the other night, and thinking, I got to call Jenny. So I'm afraid I don't have anything wonderful to report, other than I know she seems to be doing fine, and she's writing away.
I need to make another donation to her book. I know I've sent her a few donations for her book, and I told her the door is always open when she wants to come on and promote it. I know she's had a hard time, and I don't know the details on that, and that's fine. But I always liked Jen.
Yeah, she's a terrific woman, and she's a very good actress, and. also, again, it's that thing of, people in this line of work, I remember calling a friend of mine once, and a guy I knew was actually, I was a writer, Hubert Selby Jr., who wrote Last Exorcist.
Requiem for a Dream.
Yes, Requiem for a Dream, yes, and Demon, and yeah. And he was a friend of mine, Cubby, and I called him up one time about something, and I was pissed off about something. Something hurt my feelings, or something. And I said, I am so sick of being so sensitive. And Cubby laughed, and he went, "Oh, so you want to be one of those insensitive artists, huh, Stefan?"
Is he still around?
No, he's not. He died a few years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because I remember he makes a cameo in Requiem for a Dream as one of the prison guys.
Yes, he makes a cameo in Last Exorcist to Brooklyn as cab driver.
Yeah. Well, I like that there. He's one of the prison guards in Requiem for a Dream, and he's just laying it on. I didn't know he had passed away, but I remember his voice, And
Yeah, talk like the Penguin.
Yeah.
Cubby, he was a great guy.
Oh, well.
A real honor to have known him.
Yeah, yep. I don't know the other movie, but I do know Requiem for a Dream. I remember he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your music, because I know that it was Claire that sent me Cadillac Christmas and asked me to play that, and I was more than happy to do so.
That was spawned as sort of as almost a deal breaker. We were in the middle of negotiating this deal with a particular label, and they wanted us to do something we weren't crazy about the idea of doing, and the label was looking a little shaky, and it looked like some of our people were leaving, and all this kind of stuff. So we set up a little mobile unit at my house in West Hollywood, and we all went and set up in my house, and we decided we owed them a track. And so it was getting close to the holidays, so Roland and my partner Roland DeVoyle and I decided to write a Christmas song. Now, this band is called the Knights of the Living Dead, and we were sort of like if the vampire. What inspired this whole thing with Roland and I was thinking, if Anne Rice's Vampire Lestats, if we could hear Vampire Lestat's band, what would it sound like? And so that's what we did. So we wrote a bunch of songs, and then it just sort of took on a life of its own. So we recorded Cadillac Christmas pretty much live in sequestered in different rooms. Ray the drummer's in the bedroom, and Kelly guitar player's in the bathroom, and Roland's over here, and I'm in the kitchen, and so we cut that, we delivered that, and that kind of wrapped things up for us at that label. And
so you're not cooking, and the other guy's taking a dump, and the other guy's sleeping. You're not doing that.
No. But, interestingly enough, a terrific guy, Anthony Santelmo here in New York, who's a wonderful cabaret performer and singer, and plays like Tell Mamas and stuff all the time and everything. He actually covered Cadillac Christmas on his new CD. And he cut this really wonderful, kind of countrified version of it and everything. And I went over and played some guitar on it and just played some little, Scotty Moore little country licks here and there. But that's that's one of the few songs we've had covered.
Why didn't you have Timothy Van Patten play piano on it?
I wasn't seeing Tim at the time. I hadn't seen Tim in years at the time. I was in L.A. I think he was out here, and we had some interesting people play on some of our sessions, and so we had interesting people dropping in the studio and playing with us and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. We I mean, this all starts really like my mother's side of the family is very, very musical. Her mother was a concert pianist and piano teacher. Her older sister was a pianist and a singer. My mom was a singer, and that's sort of where that came from. So I was playing piano at a very early age, at 5, 6 years old, and then the guitar actually perplexed me for years. I got my first guitar when I was about 8, but I could not figure it out for the longest time. Just but I was playing piano and stuff, and then of course when in the 1960s, in 1967, if you were on television every week,
Mm-hmm.
you could make a record. As a matter of fact, all you had to do was like fog a mirror, and you could make a record. They really didn't care if you could sing or if you could play or you write or even if you wanted to make a record. They just knew you were on television every week and you were in Tiger Beat magazine and Rave and Fave and 16. And, of course, every young male under the age of about 20, 21, 25 actually, who was on television once a week, was in those teen magazines, Gloria Stavers and Ann Moses, all of them.
Were you in them?
Oh, God, yes. All the time. 16 magazine, Tiger Beat, Rave, Fave, all those things. And so, of course, it didn't take very long before, a record label started knocking on the door. Oh, well, someone would be interested in making a record. And it's pure merchandising. Now the thing is that I actually did want to make records, and actually played and sang, and I was already writing little songs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like 11, 12 years old, and they said, "Do you want to make a record?" So I said, "Sure, fine." Now, of course, their expectation is that I was this kid actor who was going to come in, and they were going to have a producer, and they're going to pick the songs, and they're going to have the session guys come in and play the thing, and that's it. And I was going to sing and overdub my voice, and that's it. Goodbye. Thank you. And I said no. This is what we're going to do. My dad was my manager at the time, and he was a tremendous help. I said, it was all based on the idea of you can exploit me if I can exploit you. So for every side that the record company wanted me to record, and the way they wanted me to record it, and the people they wanted me to work with, I got one of mine that I got to do my way. So, that's how we made the deal.
Okay.
So it was tremendous because I got to work at recording studios like Wally Hyder's in L.A. and San Francisco. Sunset Sound, I was at Sunset Sound all the time. They just closed that down. Gold Star Studios, which isn't even there anymore, but that was Phil Spector's big studio down on La Brea and Melrose, and I used to record there all the time. I met all these studio players, people like Keltner and Jim Keltner, Jim Gordon. The band on one of the first records I cut was Jim Keltner on drums, Emery Gordy Jr. playing bass, who used to play with Elvis, who now produces, Ray Parker Jr. before Ghostbusters playing guitar. He was about 20.
Yeah.
Don Randy playing piano. I mean, this was like my band. I was about 13. And it was amazing. So I really, really lucked out. I got now the records I did were promoted the way that all those records were promoted, as ancillary television teen idol promotional items. So I didn't have any big hits or anything like that, but I wasn't so much concerned with that. I was really just concerned with learning how to do this, learning the studio, learning how to record, learning what the proper approach was, When I first went into a recording studio, I had stacks of paper. I had lists of instruments that I'd pulled off of records I'd listened to, and amplifiers I knew had been used, and this sound and that sound, and this way and that way and this way. And I remember taking them in the studio and showing them to Jerry Steiner was producing that session, showing them to Jerry, and he kind of smiled and he said, actually, Stefan, we really we don't do that really. We'll just put these over here. We're just going to kind of play the song until we like it and we get it right. I'm like, really? So that was the thing. I got to learn how to do this and how to do it right, and I got to work with incredible people, and and meet incredible people, and be in studios where extraordinary people were playing and doing things. Where I was down the hall and I got to sneak in, and watch so and so make such and such, and so it was a great experience. And then I also got to play live very young a lot because of Land of Giants and because of the teen magazines, because they plays the Pacific Northwest, the Southwest, the South Northeast. They all had markets, and they wanted to book people from TV shows and magazines and things like that to come and show up and do what they're doing now at conventions. They didn't have conventions then. Mm-hmm. So you're doing things like opening supermarkets and stuff. Well, if you have something you can actually do, that's better. So what I would do is that I would, or my dad and I, we'd usually find some really hot local band, like the best local band, mm-hmm. and go to them and say, how would you like to do this little about 5-week tour with us? And playing with me, backing me, and it usually went very well. And then we'd hook in with the local DJs and stuff like that, and then we'd do all sorts of fun stuff that was like real throwback stuff, like. We did that same thing. It was great. We did that same thing the Stones did when they promoted Sticky Fingers in '71, where they drove the flatbed truck, right down on, yep. Well, we did that at we would go to college campuses and high schools and things, and we'd take a flatbed truck with all the equipment on. We'd pull up like at lunch hour at the Quad. and we'd play like 3 songs and give a bunch of flyers away and stuff like that, and of course the kids would go nuts, and and then you get to meet all the the cool kids, right? So,
like Stegman and his gang.
Yeah, they're right. They immediately come up, and, and the guys in the band get to meet all the cute girls. And and then they come to the club that we're playing, or the whatever place, VFW Hall or whatever the hell we're playing that night. So I did that for years, and went over to Europe and played very similar kinds of gigs and stuff like that. And then over the course of time, I've had probably about 5 bands that I've sort of put together, usually with a partner, a songwriting partner, and it's always been about getting the form right, getting the music right, getting the sound out of my head. That's success to me. That's what really works. Like when Roland and I put together this band, The Knights of the Living Dead, we wanted it to sound a certain way, and we both knew how we wanted it to sound, and we both knew how we wanted it to look and feel and how the shows would go. We really did. We just knew. And we worked really hard at it. We got it that way, And, we wound up, a situation where we never released our album. But you know what? That really wasn't important to me. What was important to me is that we actually got it. We were playing the music we wanted to play. Mm-hmm. And we were playing it correctly. We were playing it the way I heard it, and that's really what matters.
You had mentioned to me in a private conversation that I had talking to you about something else, and Sam Kinnison's name came up. Did you do anything musically with Sam? Because I know he
No.
did stuff like that too.
No, we were just friends.
Okay.
We were just friends around town. We weren't really like close buddies or anything like that, but I knew him from around town. I knew a lot of the people who, when I was living in Hollywood, and I knew a lot of people who were working the Comedy Store and stuff like that, and also the Improv, because my dad at the time, in the 80s in particular, was managing a lot of comics. So he had a lot of clients who were at the Comedy Store or at the Improv.
Okay.
So I met a lot of those guys and girls, and Sam was one of them.
Yeah, because I knew Sam had also done some music stuff. That's why I bring this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I never played with him. No.
Okay. So
I played with. Let's see. Well, the most fun I've had is when I played with and wrote some songs with Warren Zevon, which was just a real joy. Just to even be asked. I mean, he asked me not just to write with. He asked me to write the lyrics for for some songs, and and I'm thinking Warren Zevon, who's one of my favorite lyricists, just asked me to write lyrics. This guy's written like with only a few people, like Bruce Springsteen and and J.D. Souther and stuff like that. And he asks me to write lyrics for a song. I was so knocked down. So we were hanging out together for two of his albums, for Sentimental Hygiene, and then on Transverse City, I worked on that and wrote lyrics for that. But and Warren was a great friend of Roland's and mine and our band, the Knights, and so we were constantly going back and forth. And actually, Warren produced 4 sides for our our unreleased album. He produced 4 songs for us out at Red Zone Studios, and that was a lot of fun. But so it all begins with the opportunity, but it also begins with my getting really hooked on this. But I listened to a lot of classical music as a kid, and I learned to play it, and I certainly appreciate it, and I know it. But I got hooked on the blues when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And then I got introduced to through people like the Rolling Stones and stuff. I got introduced to like Robert Johnson, and Skip James, and people like that, and that just changed my world.
I've had 3 of the Blues Brothers band on my show.
Yeah. Who?
I had Murphy Dunn.
Okay.
His is right on YouTube. Willie Hall, the drummer.
Wow.
His is coming up on YouTube very soon. And September last year, I had Blue Lou on.
Get the hell out! That's cool.
Oh, he sent me he sent me the latest CD he had done. There was a new Blues Brothers compilation CD out, and he sent it to me.
Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, he was great to talk to, and
oh yeah, those guys are great.
He's not performing so much anymore in front of chicken wire.
Yeah, right.
I had to bring the chicken wire thing up to him.
I love that.
He said he's performed with Streisand before, and I said, "Did she bring out the chicken wire?" And he says, "No, not Streisand."
Back in the 70s, I had a couple of bands. We used to perform behind chicken wire and screens and stuff like that, because the audiences would like throw bottles and spit on you and stuff.
Well, that happened in the Blues Brothers,
right.
Where he goes, chicken wire?
Yeah. Well, no, it's quite serious. They're not kidding.
Yeah, but and I'm hoping maybe if I'm lucky, get more of the Blues Brothers band on here. But
wouldn't be great?
That new CD is really good. Actually, I got it in my coat pocket here. I'm going to dig that out. It's called The Last Shade of Blue Before Black. And it's done by Steve Cropper and Blue Lou Marini and the original Blues Brothers band.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's got with it Eddie Floyd.
Yep.
Joe Louis Walker, Paul Schaefer, Dr. John.
Knock on wood.
Matt Murphy.
Dr. John.
Yep, Matt Murphy and Joe Morton.
Oh man, Joe Morton is great. He's a great actor. But that's great. That's a great lineup.
This is a really good CD too, and I was so honored he sent that to me, and he was promoting that, and I had a lot of fun with Blue Lou on here. I even told him a Newfie joke on here. You know what a Newfie joke is?
Yes, I do.
You want to hear a good Newfie joke?
Okay.
All right. Blue Lou got a kick out of this, so I'll share this with you. There was an Englishman, a Frenchman, and a Newfie. They went out one night to the clubs. And, things were happening there, and the music was loud, and suddenly the Englishman says, you know what? It's time to wind down and go home. He points over to this beautiful blonde, and he says, I'm going to try to pick her up. Now, of course, they've all been drinking, and they've all had a lot to drink, way too much. They could not drive home. Mm-hmm. But the Englishman says, I'm going to go pick her up. And the Frenchman says, you'll never get her to go home with you. And he goes, you just watch. Watch and learn. So he walks over, and, he's had a lot to drink, but he gets over to her, and he taps the blonde on the shoulder, and he goes, tickle your ass with a feather. And she turns to him and says, what? He goes, particularly nasty weather. She smiles, takes his arm, and they stroll off. The Frenchman sees this is like, well, if he could do it, I could do it. Now, he's had a little more to drink than the Englishman. But he spots this beautiful brunette, and he staggers a little bit, but he's on his feet, and he goes over, he taps her on the shoulder, and she turns around, and he goes, tickle your ass with a feather. And she goes, what? He goes, particularly nasty weather. She looks at him for a second, smile slowly creases on her face, and she takes his arm, and they walk out of there. Well, the Newfie, he's like, you know what, they do it. Yeah, he can do it, but he is barely on his feet, the stool's just barely holding him up, but he's going to do this, and he spots this gorgeous redhead, and he crawls more than staggers over to her, and everything he can grab to try to hoist himself up to his feet, he does. He gets over to her, and he taps her on the shoulder, and she turns around, and he goes, shove a feather up your ass! She goes, what? And he goes, fucking cold, isn't it? Something tells me it didn't work.
No. Yeah. Okay.
I remember that joke from a long time ago, and I never forgot it. I just thought it was funny how one thing could be really, really messed up. Has similar meaning, but the way it comes across.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all in the execution.
I'm surprised they haven't done a Newfie movie yet.
But that's whatchamacallit, the Mackenzie brothers that's pretty close.
That's close. Trailer Park Boys, pretty close.
Yes, close.
I thought it was funny. There was somebody put a trivia thing on Facebook the other day that named the movie that has the most swearing in it. And people were posting all these movies, and I was like, I got to educate these people. So I posted the trailer for Swearing At the movie, which had 935 F-bombs in it, and it was by the Trailer Park Boys.
There you go.
Yeah, and nobody had mentioned it but me.
Yeah, well...
It broke the World Guinness Book of Records for the most F-bombs in a movie.
Yeah, with a close runner-up, Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel.
You know what? Speaking of which, I've done 3 tribute interviews about Zoe Tamerlas Lund.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had her widow, Robert Lund, on my show 3 times.
Wow.
My biggest interview right now on YouTube in terms of views is a first tribute interview.
Really?
Yep. And his third one's not up on YouTube yet. But Robert's a great guy, and I was just fascinated and smitten with Zoe from the movie Ms. 45.
Yeah, right.
Yep. And I felt bad that she was gone, but he sent me a little snippet on email of her journal.
Oh, really?
So I got some of her handwriting, and that was just so cool to receive.
Yeah. Oh, that must have been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what Bad Lieutenant puts me in mind of, and he talked about her with that. And as far as I'm concerned, she's not in enough of the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, you would also mention to me that, of course, I've interviewed Ralph Bakshi on here a couple of times, and you mentioned you almost got a part in American Pop.
Well, we had a couple of really nice meetings. I liked him, actually. I don't know him. We just he called me in several times, and we had unusually long meetings, and we talked a lot about a whole bunch of different things, and then the film and everything. And then the last one, he was very straight with me, which a lot of guys aren't. You have to wait and hear from your agent. And he just said to me, he said, "Look," he said, I think you're terrific. He said, "You remind me like of a young Jack Kerouac. You got a really great thing going on. It's just the guys I need for this movie, they can't. You look like you know too much, And I said, okay, yeah, I'll accept that, And so no, I didn't do it. Ray Sharkey did actually, and Ray and I became friends years later. But yeah, I liked Ralph actually. I've had some good experiences like that where like I got to meet some great directors and people. I didn't work for them, but like Joe Dante and I, like became good buddies. Joe Dante was always trying to figure out how to stick me in a movie. He never could find a way, but we became friends. We became friends to the point where he even called me on an audition once simply because he just wanted to talk to me.
Speaking of Joe Dante, I've had Belinda Belansky on my show every year.
Oh yeah.
You love Belinda.
Yeah.
She's going to be on this year as well. The plan is, so she's got some stuff to promote. But she's in a lot of Dante movies.
Yeah.
He
was a sweet guy. But yeah. So Bakshi I liked a lot. I thought he was a real interesting guy, and he was good to talk to. It would have been fun to work with him, but
Any last thoughts on Roddy McDowall? We haven't talked much about him.
Well, let's see. When I first got to Hollywood from here in New York in 1964, 65, MGM brought me out, and they put me up at the Chateau Marmont, and with my dad, and then later my whole family came out, and he lived at the Chateau Marmont, and was one of the first people that I met in Hollywood, and because Roddy himself had been a kid actor and everything, he was very, and he liked my family very much. They got along very well, but he was very sort of protective of me. And we became pretty good friends, and and of course he was always shooting pictures. I'm in one of those books, one of those portrait books that he put out. I don't know whether it's 3 or whatever, but he was an important influence, and he kind of, without really sitting me down and doing a whole thing, he did kind of show me the ropes and kind of made me aware of what to watch out for and what to maybe hold off saying, and when to shut up, and
Yeah.
and that's very important when you're a kid and you're doing films and stuff like that. The fact is that when you walk on that set, essentially most of the adult actors don't like you. They don't like you. They don't even know who you are. They don't like you because you're a kid. You're going to steal a scene.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to talk dirty to each other or tell dirty jokes, and the actors aren't going to be able to flirt with the actresses and all that because there's a fucking kid there. So you kind of have to learn like how to disarm that, how to get on the set, and and you can't be all cutesy. And but you can't be precocious either. So you have to learn to walk this little fine line, And both Roddy and my dad told me a secret. Said, learn everybody's lines.
Okay.
Learn everybody's lines, and then if an actor in a scene you're doing goes up and can't remember the line, very discreetly turn with your face away from everyone else and whisper the line to him.
Wow. Okay.
He said, and Roddy told me, he said, if you do that, he said, the other actors will really start to like you. And he said, but you have to feed it to them very, very discreetly.
Wow.
So there's little tricks like that. And Roddy taught me a lot of those.
Did he do that in class of 1984?
No. This was for children. He was teaching me how to navigate Hollywood.
Yeah, but there was children in class of 1984. Just look at that classroom.
Well, that's true.
You mean he didn't discreetly say to Timothy Van Patten, amphibian?
No.
You got it wrong. You didn't pass.
He was so relaxed. I mean, by that time in his career, he'd been doing this his whole life, and he was very, very relaxed on the set, and no drama, no big scenes, no big problems. Everything was just, he always thoroughly enjoyed working, and he enjoyed actors, and he enjoyed crews, and he enjoyed film sets, and he was just a very, very pleasant guy to be around.
Yeah. Well, he's worked a long time, and I've enjoyed him in various films, from Fright Night to Bedknobs and Broomsticks,
Yep.
to Class of 1984, and of course the Planet of the Apes. And he's been around.
He's a very, very kind man, and he was very giving. He helped and took care of a lot of people. Who were going through hard times and stuff like that, in the business and shit like that. And he took care of people. He was very good to people. He was very good to his friends. And I think Roddy was one of the best liked people I knew in Hollywood. I didn't know anyone who had anything bad to say about him.
Yeah, Marilyn Ross said very nice things about him as well, and so yeah, I've heard all good things as well. Yeah,
see, he falls into that category of there's several different kinds of actors, but there's a certain type of actor that, particularly the actors that become the real movie stars or character types and everything, where it's really what you're seeing mostly them. They're not really doing that much. They're just interesting people. And that's the thing about Roddy McDowall. He was just an interesting guy. Mm-hmm. He was interesting to listen to. He was interesting to watch. He was interesting, he was just an interesting guy. He could have been a butcher. He would have been an interesting guy, but he was an actor, and he really didn't do that much. If you watch him in his movies, that's always Roddy McDowall. You don't think that's someone else.
Yeah.
But it's Roddy McDowall, totally in the moment, totally believing what he's doing, totally believing what everybody else is doing, and that's what gets everybody, because that's what allows the audience to suspend their disbelief. If they see the actor believing it, they're more likely to believe it too. And Roddy was really good at that.
Yeah. What's interesting though was like in class of 1984, you're Roddy McDowell, Al Waxman. You got a couple of real good veterans
Yeah.
there that certainly helped move that movie along. And I can't say enough about that scene where he's got the gun in the classroom. I think the most powerful scene in the movie.
Oh yeah. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. With the things going on right now in the world, there's a lot to talk about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
giving guns to teachers.
Yeah. Well, there's a good example of why that's not such a great idea.
Exactly. Well, I say to my brother one night, my younger brother, I heard that news, and I said, this is why that's a dumb suggestion.
Yeah.
Roddy McDowell used it to teach with.
Although you can always make the argument for all of us did get the right answer.
Well, Timothy didn't.
What?
Timothy didn't.
Oh yeah, well.
He's being
the gun had to
stubborn.
go off sometime.
He was being stubborn. Yeah, but no. Well, you know what? It's I was gonna say too. I often wondered. I know that Timothy Van Patten did not enjoy doing the movie, but it's like, did he not enjoy it that much that he could not get any of you folks on Boardwalk Empire?
Oh, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with that. Just has to do with the business and proximity and stuff. Tim never really set out to be an actor, and I don't really think he enjoyed it that much. He was good. I mean,
I thought he was good too.
He was a very good actor, in the Class '84, and then White Shadow, and other stuff he did. He was very, very good. And he was very photogenic. He's very good to watch. He's good to listen to. Good-looking guy. The whole thing. I just don't think he. I remember even on Class of '84, he was watching everything. He wasn't concentrating on himself. He was watching how they're lighting. He's watching how the shot's set up. He's watching everything. And I remember seeing that and saying, "Oh, this guy wants to be a filmmaker."
Yeah.
And well, he did. He started directing Sopranos, and now he's over at HBO and stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be taking my Mitchum project by Them Ornery Mitchum Boys, the book by John Mitchum about the adventures of Robert and John Mitchum. I'm going to be taking that over to Tim over at HBO within the next couple of weeks, along with some other folks, and we're going to see if we can put it together and do it over there. It's going to be a 7-part limited series.
Oh yeah.
And I'd love to have Tim as executive producer. I think that would be just great fun.
Yeah, I couldn't locate him to get him on the show, but something tells me he might have the same opinion as Neil Clifford.
Yeah, I just well, no, I don't think he. I don't. No, he certainly wasn't mistreated in that same sense. I don't think he liked the way that the film was being handled. But then again, I don't think he was totally comfortable with being an actor. I don't think he was. I think he was more involved with other things, and. So yeah, we're going to see if we can put something together. I know that Tim was in England most of last year.
Okay.
Working on some other project that they had going on, that he and Scorsese have going on over at HBO. But I believe he's back in town now, or if he's not, he's going to be back within the next couple of weeks, because we're going to be getting together here. So we shall see.
Yeah, because I often thought, I wondered. I heard he wasn't comfortable with Class of 1984, and I was wondering if I had anything, because I was hoping he would cast some of you folks in some of his projects.
Well, that's proximity and and availability and stuff like that.
Okay.
I was out in L.A. and then I was in Europe for a while, and then and I was working doing other things, and while Boardwalk Empire was sort of happening, I wasn't here in New York, So it just it's a small town, this business, but on the other hand, it isn't. For example, like, my entire family, my mother, my father, my sister, myself, we're all in this business. We're all, and I've only worked. I got to work with my dad twice when I was like a little kid, when I was about 5 or 6, and I got to work with my mom once. I've never worked with my sister. It's very, very hard to work with friends. And John Carpenter probably had me in to read for just about every film he made in the 70s and 80s. And for one reason or another, I didn't do them.
Did you read for Halloween?
No. I read for, what did I read for? I read for Carrie. I read for...
Carrie was De Palma.
Yeah, that was De Palma. I read for Carrie for De Palma. And I read for... The Fog, the original one. I then, a whole bunch of them. Didn't do them for one reason or another. Scheduling, his scheduling, my scheduling, or whatever. And in 2005 or something, I'm in Vancouver, and Carpenter is now heading up Revolution Films in L.A., and he's executive producing all his old hits. Assault on Precinct 13, and he gets to The Fog, and so I go in and I meet Rupert Wainwright on The Fog. I wind up doing The Fog and everything. So I got to the set, and this is like after years of I get to the set and I get to my trailer, and in my trailer is this big fruit basket and a bottle of wine, the whole thing, and a nice little card in it, and it says, "I finally got you, John."
There you go.
After many years, so yeah.
I have one more thing.
It happens. I mean, it's just schedule and proximity and stuff like that. It usually isn't. It's like my mom always used to say. If you knew how often people were thinking about you, you wouldn't worry so much about what they were thinking about you. And so I don't think it has anything to do with Tim's dissatisfaction with Class of '84. Although no, I don't think it wasn't a major event in his life. So
okay. Well, I tried to find him, but I couldn't get information. But that's been on the back.
I'll be talking to him probably over the course of the next few weeks, so I'll mention it and see where he's at.
Sure, I'd be open to that.
Yeah,
now, Mark Lester. One thing that occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he did Class of 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And this, prior to that, he did that bomb roller boogie.
Mm-hmm.
And, he did the movie with the truck stop women or whatnot. But after Class of 1984, he did Firestarter. He did Commando with Schwarzenegger. He did Armed and Dangerous with John Candy and Eugene Levy. Then after that, everything kind of went downhill. He did that really shitty Class of 1999, which I was embarrassed to watch. I don't know if you've seen it, but
no, I never saw that one. No, when Mark called me on Misbegotten with Kevin Dillon, so one of the first things he told me when I went to go see him is he said, "Oh, listen, Stefan, I'm in movie jail, so it's not." I'm in movie jail now, meaning that he wasn't playing with the big dollars. He was, I mean, it was still an interesting. Misbegotten's an interesting little film, and it's got some good performances. It's funny as hell, but it's a low budget independent made in Canada, and but everyone's career does that. I mean, you come up and you go through your thing, and then you get some success, and so maybe you got 4 or 5 good top years, and then you're going to fall into into some kind of cycle, and
yeah.
And that's just the way it is. I mean, and the most anyone ever has in this business really is like 5 really hot years, no matter what level you're on, whether you're character actor, whether you're a movie star, whether you got a television show, whether you're a pop star, it doesn't matter. You're going to have 5 really hot years, and then you're going to settle into into your place in the lexicon of the business. It's funny, because I was just talking to Dennis Christopher the other day. Dennis and I are old friends, and I hadn't seen Dennis in years until last October's ChillerCon, and he was there signing, and so we got to hook up, and we had some lunch and everything. He's back in L.A., so we've been talking and everything. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, Dennis has had that real up and down thing. He starts in doing things like Fellini's Roma, and then he does Breaking Away, and gets a BAFTA award, and and all this stuff, and and then he and I went up for a lot of the same movies in the early '80s, late '70s, early '80s, like Fade to Black and stuff like that, and and then yeah, like everybody else, Dennis kind of slowed down a bit, and a little bit of a slump. Then Quentin hired him for Django Unchained, and that sort of turned everything around for Dennis now. And that was interesting, though, because Dennis told me that Quentin didn't tell him until they were on the movie, and then when they were on the movie, when they were shooting, told Dennis, I've seen every one of your films the day it came out, and I rewrote this part for you.
Oh, wow.
That's a good feeling.
That is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Dennis is a great guy. I'm working on writing a thing that maybe we could do sometime, because we've always wanted to work together. We never got. And there's another good example. We've always wanted to work together. We've known each other, for 35, 40 years. Never done anything together.
You go write something for Jenny?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, the thing I'm writing that's sort of with Dennis in mind, and also myself. I have a great part for Jenny as well.
Yeah. Got Lisa in it?
Well, we can certainly get her in there. Yeah, sure.
How about the rest of the gang?
Maybe I should just hire you to cast this.
Yeah, you see? I'm going to help you out.
Okay, well, we'll talk casting when the time comes. This is a TV. This would be like a streaming TV series, actually.
And we could get Tony Harris Fried in it, and you could pay him with shirts.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't believe Class of 1984, they've never done the McFarlane figurines or anything for that movie, because I would think there might be a market for something like that.
Yeah, you'd kind of think, but, I don't know.
I mean, at least for the gang members, and I mean...
I know. I thought we looked great. I thought action figures of the gang would look great.
Yeah.
I mean, Fallon and Barnyard. I mean, that was the one thing that that did come off there, and I think I got to say that really has to do with each one of the actors individually, because each one of us really kind of created that, and we did we suggested a lot of the makeup and makeup effects and things like that, the wardrobe and stuff like that. So I thought I thought we looked like scary motherfuckers. Action figures, why not?
Yeah, well, they make a lot of these, like ones you put on the shelf and whatnot, and then there's some of these cult films, like we were talking Miss 45 earlier. I can't believe they hadn't done one of Zoe, and
you could get a Fallon doll where you saw his arm off, and get a Drugstore doll that catches on fire, and then get drop a car in a Barnyard doll.
Well, how I would do it, Fallon would have a chain, of course.
Oh, of course.
and Barnyard would have the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You would have a knife and probably a needle.
Didn't you like that? What? They gave me a boat hook in that poster, that drawing,
Yeah.
Yeah, a boat hook. Boy, I saw that poster when they were first. Hey, well, this is the poster for the movie. I said, hey, how come I didn't get that boat hook? I would have loved that boat hook.
I never understood why Keith Knight's not on that original poster.
I don't know either. I do not know either, unless they just simply didn't think they had room for him. But no, I really don't know. I don't know.
Because you look at did you see the new Blu-ray cover by Shout?
No. Oh, you mean the one with Perry, right?
Yeah, that's got all 5 gang members. I just think that's a great. Normally these posters aren't an improvement, but I think that one is.
Yeah.
Have you ever attended the film at a midnight screening?
No.
No,
I was invited to go to a midnight screening at in L.A., and there were going to be some people there talking. I think even Mark was going to be there or something, and for some reason I couldn't be there, and I don't even remember what it was, but I couldn't. But no, I've never gone to a midnight screening.
Yeah. And of course, with Fear No Evil, I know why you didn't make it in the NBA.
Do people dress up like characters and go to the midnight show?
Well, I've been to some midnight movies where people have dressed up. I've never been to Class of '84 at midnight. I'd love to, though.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. No, I was saying in Fear No Evil, I know why you didn't make it in the NBA.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well,
Something to do with a basketball and somebody's gut.
Hey, I didn't throw that ball. The coach threw that ball.
Yeah, but... somebody was doing some...
He wants to blame it on some cat-eye contact lenses. He can go right ahead.
How many push-ups did you actually do?
I don't know if I told you about that. I was so screwed. That poor Paul Haber, the actor who had to get thrown against the wall there. And he had this harness on, and with a big cable, and because they pulled him 8 feet up and 10, 20 feet back, and slammed him against the wall. He's all padded and everything like that. But they did. They lifted him off the ground. And it's a big harness, right? And so we're doing this thing, we're shooting coverage, and he keeps getting slammed up against the wall, in different shots and everything. And then we break for lunch. And so I leave the gymnasium, I go out to my trailer, and I get my stuff together, go to lunch. And I walk back through the gym to go to where we're serving lunch, and everyone's gone. Everything's covered and everything, everyone's gone to lunch. There's Paul Haber sitting on a fucking stool in wardrobe, still with the harness on, with the cable, attached to the back wall, just with his head down, looking like Hamburger. I mean, just looking like someone had just beat him with a hammer. and I said, Paul, what are you doing in here? He said, they left me. I said, what do you mean they left you? He said, they said that the harness was too complicated to take off and put on for lunch hour, but somebody was going to bring me back some food, but nobody did. So... So I had to go out. I got him a plate of food, and I got a couple of other people. We all came back. We all had lunch in the gym with Paul Haber, who was connected to the wall, couldn't leave.
Did you guys like throw French fries up and see if you could catch them in his mouth?
No, he was having a hard enough time.
Oh man, wouldn't it be great if there was video of that? How funny that would be.
Well, somebody somewhere does have some very funny video from that movie, and I don't know who the hell has it, but there were several people running around with video cameras who were authorized to be videotaping, who did certain interviews at certain times with different cast members, and I know I did several several completely bizarre interviews, which I really would love to see someday. Yeah, they did one of me. I remember for some reason my hands and arms to the elbow were like drenched in blood, and I was holding them up, and they so there's a lot of stuff like that. I don't know who has that. I should actually, the guy who is one of the assistant directors, Chris Fabiaschi, is in L.A. right now. I should give him a call and find out if he knows who's got any of that stuff.
Was there any scenes that were cut from Class of '84?
Yeah.
What was cut? What didn't make it in the movie?
The rape scene with Marilyn Ross has been severely trimmed.
Okay.
Some of the fight scene has been trimmed. What they did is that when the movie went to the MPAA, it got an X rating. Well, PSO, Producer Service Organization, and Mark and everything could not afford to release, at that time, could not afford to release a movie with an X rating.
Okay.
It just wouldn't make any money. So they had to get at least a hard R. The reason we got an X rating, we found out later, is that when the movie was screened for the MPAA, and the MPAA is a board of 8 people, 12 people, something like that. And they're chosen from different. There was a pregnant woman on the MPA board when they screened that movie, and she didn't care for it, and so that's how we got an X rating. So Mark had to take the movie back, and I think there's probably a good 10, 12 minutes, which is a lot of screen time, cut out of that movie, all over the place, just little scenes, little things.
I wonder if that footage still exists anywhere.
I don't know.
That would be something.
Well, yeah, it would, actually, because when you do a movie, when you sign a distribution agreement to do a movie, they're very specific, and the distributor is very descriptive. They want every single item that was in the movie. They want every hairbrush that was in the wardrobe trailer, and they want every frame of film, every still, every negative, everything. So probably in some vault somewhere, are all the short ends and the cuts from Class of '84 somewhere, unless they've been destroyed by now, which is possible. But it's just little things here and there, like the rape scene is probably about maybe 20, 30 seconds shorter. The stabbing staged fight scene in the cafeteria is probably about 15 seconds shorter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the stabbing of Michael was a little more graphic.
Oh, okay.
The fight in under the freeway overpasses is probably, again, maybe only 20 seconds or something like that, but there was a couple of blows to the face and, blood flowing out of people's noses and stuff like that I think didn't make it to the final. Yeah, it was mostly things like that. Just the things that just kind of went over the top.
So no entire scenes cut?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there's no entire scenes cut. Everything that we shot is in the movie, but it's just that some of them are truncated. They're just cut down a little bit, or certain shots, that were in the original have been removed because it just went a little too far.
Wow. Well, you know what? It was great talking to you this evening. You've actually. You're actually my second longest interview as of tonight.
I know. We've just done 2 hours and 27 minutes. I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah, you haven't quite caught up to Bruce.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
Bruce can wear the crown. That's okay by me.
Yeah.
Bruce is a good guy.
Yeah, there was Bruce Glover, then you, and then Lisa's second interview. She topped herself by 10 minutes.
There you go.
And I'm hoping to get her on again as well. And
we should do one together. You should have both Lisa and I on. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. I wonder if there's a way I could get that together.
Sure, we could probably set up some kind of conference call thing.
Well, how I usually do it is like when I had Roddy Piper's son and daughter on.
Yeah.
They contacted each other.
Yeah.
And when I called her,
Yeah.
she had her brother on the other end, and I was able to talk to both.
Yeah. We can do something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful.
Sure. We'll figure out something. I got to call Lisa, in the next day or so anyway, because I got some questions for her. So I'll talk to her about it when I talk to her. We'll see what we can come up with. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Well, it was great talking to you about your career again, and
Thanks.
and talking about your music. Got any other music coming out in the near future?
I do actually. My old producer Dave Jordan, who was a great producer, produced Jane's Addiction and Alice in Chains and tons of people. And he actually recommended to me this online page, Reverb Nation. He said, you just have to put some stuff up on there, and what the hell? At least people get to listen to it. So I did, and I just put up some demos and things that I had, but it got so popular, and I wound up being in the top 10 almost immediately. I've been in the top 10 now in Canada on the Reverb Nation charts, for the last year. So I have some new stuff now that has kind of moved away. I've been working with this really brilliant young guitar player, 23-year-old kid Michael, who's been. We've been doing some work together and doing some new songs. So, I'm working on a 5-song EP thing. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to release that, whether I'm going to release it, through iTunes or CD Baby, or whether I might even do a vinyl pressing. I don't know. But, hopefully sometime this summer, yeah.
You go get Jenny to sing with you?
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. No, if you talk to Jenny, you tell her I said hello.
I sure will.
Yeah. We got to keep prodding Tony, of course, get him on here.
You bet. You bet. Well, I owe him a call. I'll give him a call tomorrow and tell him, what the hell's the matter with you? So,
holy cow. Yeah, I see him on Facebook a lot, but I'm like, okay, Tony, it's about time. It's about time.
He's a great interview, too. That's what's so funny. I mean, he's a really eloquent guy. He's very well educated. He went to the American University in London, and studied law. Basically, he only did that for his dad so that he could go and make a deal and play in London. But he did both. He's a very intelligent guy, very well traveled, very eloquent, great interview. It's funny. I think he's feeling a little insecure right now because he had some health problems and stuff like that. And I think he's sort of feeling like, maybe I can't. But you get him talking, it'll be great.
Oh yeah, I look forward to it. Well, he's open to it. I do know that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just pinning him down for a date and time. Yeah. Well, Stefan, this has been great having you on here for a third time. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, terrific. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, I loved keeping in touch, and this has been just a blast. And like I said, be very, very, very patient on the release of this.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep.
That's no problem. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and I'll say the Red Cross. Just remember that. That's the thing I'm working on right now. And the Red Cross. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened to the Knights Templars? Are they still around? What are they doing? It's a series.
Okay. Okay.
I'm working on it. I'm writing it now. This is the one I was talking about with Dennis and a bunch of different people. But a lot of all friends. I'm writing parts for friends because I like to do that. Because it's easy.
Yep.
I get to the character and I just go, So let's see. What would Jenny say? All right, fine. So we'll see. So hopefully, we'll have this Red Cross thing together, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you get that done, you get back on here again and promote that.
Oh, I sure will. I'd love to tell you about it, but I want to keep it kind of mum right now. But I think it'll tickle you. I think you'll like it.
And I'm casting it, am I?
What?
Yeah, I'm casting it, am I?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can cast the Canadians.
All
right, buddy.
Well, before I
It's been a
let you
pleasure.
go, do you mind doing a plug for my show?
No, not at all. Hi, this is Stefan Arngrim, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert and Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
There
Have
we
fun.
go. Absolutely. Wow. This is the third time around. I've got over 6 hours and a half of footage of you talking to me, and I got over 4 hours of Lisa talking to me.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
We have to animate it.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be
Let's send
great?
it to Pixar.
And I've got about 2 hours of Marilyn Ross talking to me.
There you go.
I had Aaron Noble I had on for 2 hours.
It's a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gord Lewis was the shortest. He did about 45 minutes, I think, or something like that.
You see, that's a set, right?
Yeah. There you go. That works.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, my friend.
Well, you take care. You have yourself a fantastic evening, and we'll be in touch.
You bet. All right. Thanks again, Greg.
No problem. You take
Always
care.
a pleasure.
Absolutely.